It's always excitement to play somebody new, not to play against each other every day. I think everybody's excitement. Yeah, I'm getting old and up there, but every game I get excited to play.
How are you doing? Where are you kind of on the recovery process or whatever?
I'm healthy. I'm doing good. Hopefully this season I can stay healthy throughout the whole season. That's the plan. But I feel the best I probably have.
Sarah, you've got a number of new backcourt teammates that you get to play with. What do they bring, and how can that impact the way you all play?
I think we bring a lot of experience. We got players that have played at a high level, but I think most of all, now you can't just guard me in ball screens. You got Yaya that can play in ball screens. You got Jada. I think we have so many perimeter threats now that you got to pick your poison because anybody on our offense can pick you apart.
How'd you describe Yaya as a player?
Nah, she's a fun and exciting player. She's somebody you want on your team. She's going to give it her all. She's going to attack the rim. She's going to put pressure on the defense and make them decide whether or not they want to guard her. If you guard her, she's going to pass the ball. She's a fun player to play with and somebody that's fun to watch play.
Yeah, you put up big points at Ohio. What's the difference now in kind of blending in with, there's a lot more weapons, I guess, here than what you maybe had at Ohio?
I'll say, like you said, like a lot more weapons. Definitely, just everyone is just ready to play and knows what's going on. So.
Can you talk about Sarah's game and what you see from her?
Sarah is, I'll say, she's very patient. She has a good pace to her game and knows when to do the right thing at the right time.
What stands out to you, Yaya, about the culture of the team? What are some things that have just kind of leaked out at you about what the program's all about?
I'll say family. Like ever since I got here, like I'm a shy person, but everybody just would open me up. So I'll say just family.
Yeah. What are your expectations for yourself this year?
I'll say just do whatever the coaches need me to do, and contribute to anything I need to do.
Yeah, I guess in the 30-something practice in 40 days thing, did you learn anything about yourself, being acclimated with everybody now, or are you more just kind of carrying stuff over from your previous seasons in your career?
I'll just say I learned I got a lot of improvement that needs to be added.
Sarah, Coach Nicki talked about you last year really stepping into that Batman role, your first team all Big 12. So for you, what do you see as kind of the next steps in your growth to be the player that you want to be?
I think coming and performing each and every night, getting it done on both ends of the floor, but most of all, being a leader. I've been in Coach Nicki's system now for 3 years. I know what she wants. I know what it takes to win. I've played in big-level games, but I think most of all, being that leader on the floor is something that I'm going to have to do every night and let everybody know that it's okay, because I know when I say it's okay, everybody else believes that, okay, we're fine, and we know we got it.
Similar vein, what's a successful senior season for you?
A successful senior season is honestly first and foremost to stay healthy. I want to be healthy throughout this season and take it one game at a time, win non-conference, then take it into the Big 12 conference, win a championship. Most of all, make it to a Final Four and win it all. But I think taking it one game at a time and performing each and every night.
Sarah, you were on a team that had 3 draft picks. Is this the most depth maybe, though, that y'all have had since you've been here?
Very much so. I think, you saw over the years we've been playing with 7 or 8 people because people have been injured or just for other reasons. I think this year the depth is going to take us a long way because now you got people at different positions that can come in, and we have the same thing on the floor. I mean, they bring something different, each and every player. But now we can go into our bench and stay fresh and compete for 40 minutes.
And it seems like it's really versatile, too. Like y'all can roll some different type lineups out there.
Very versatile. I think something that you saw that we improved on this year, I think we'll be a better rebounding team on the perimeter. I think the guards last year, we lacked a little bit when it came to rebounding, but I think we added like Yaya. She's somebody that crashes the goal hard and rebounds. So I think we added some key pieces that we were missing in the past.
Yaya, Sarah described your game, but how would you describe your game and what you can bring to this team?
I'll say very up-tempo. I'm very fast. I run the floor very well. I can attack the rim very good. I can shoot. So I feel like just all around, yeah.
Great.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you know, the great thing about closed scrimmages is you have nerves, but they don't necessarily react the same way as they do when they're nervous in front of a crowd or fans, and where mistakes are, feel exponentially worse somehow. Even though we're teaching the same thing from the practice floor to the scrimmage to the game, but I do think there's a difference sometimes in how players practice and how they play. I don't love kids that don't like to practice and just when the lights come on suddenly they're more excited, more interested. But at the same time, there are players that naturally elevate their game when the lights come on and there's an opponent with another name on their jersey. And so just really wanting to see how this team shares the basketball and learns to rely on one another. I think that's our biggest challenge. I think when you have a lot of returners and they've played together a lot, you've built that up. You understand, hey, if I give it up, I'm going to get it back. And I don't think this team is naturally selfish. I just think they're learning that they can get it back, that we don't have to score on the first side, that we don't have to take ourselves out of a play defensively on the first side, And so I think that's going to be a big part of the growth opportunity of this team, whether it's an exhibition game or an early non-conference game.
Tomorrow night against Hardin Simmons, are there goals you have as far as minutes or things you want to see or anything like that?
I want to see us be unselfish. I want to see us play with and for one another. I think this is a team that was, really, really good last year, didn't lose a conference game. I know there's a difference between Division I and Division III, but, as someone who grew up a long time in Wisconsin, the Division III league in Wisconsin is one of the best in the country, so I've always had an appreciation for what that looks like. And I think this is one of those teams that obviously athletically and size-wise, there's a difference. But when it comes to moving the ball, making shots, understanding what they do, they've got fifth-year seniors out there, returning starters, and starting the season ranked in the top 10 in the country. I think they're going to be confident. Maybe a little scared of our size, but I think they're. Teams like this have nothing to lose, and they're not supposed to win. And so they sometimes play with kind of that sense of fearlessness. And so, I just want us to guard the three-point line against them. I want us to play in transition and really use our depth and play fast and without playing out of control. We were talking about not being too quick, not making bad decisions, but using our athleticism, using our speed and our depth to play fast in transition. And so hopefully I see that, it's baby steps, but just enjoy playing. Basketball is fun, and so I really want them to have fun.
Probably knock on wood, but what's it like having this much depth on the team?
It's like a good problem, but it's still a problem sometimes, just because when there's not a ton of separation between maybe 3 and 11, it makes it hard at times, so it really comes down to, are you stacking good practices, because there isn't that much separation, and can you play 11 at times? Sure. Hopefully I have a lot of opportunities to play 13, but ultimately when you're talking about big matchups and preparing for conference play and having a rotation, most coaches are really comfortable with 8, and having a potential 9th, and that could change based on our opponent and their size or what they bring to the table, who's playing well for us, and who's earning minutes, kind of day by day. But it's a good problem. It's easier than the alternative. At the same time, really wanting to see some of our players like solidify what their role should be, because I think they're all at their best when they know what that role is, but I think those are still forming.
Does the rotation work itself out in these first fall games?
You hope so, but we play Friday, and then we play Monday, and then Utah comes to town a week later. So, I think what we'll have is a in two very, very different teams. You got this 3-point shooting team that's going to stretch us out and be a little undersized, and then you play a Southern team that was in the NCAA tournament last year, but is very much an aggressive, defensive, full court pressure. I mean, you couldn't talk about two opposite spectrums, so it'll look and feel differently, But and then Utah come to town with a Pac-12 Player of the Year and 4 people around her that can score and pass and really share the basketball well. So we're going to see a lot of different styles early, and being able to adjust to that and being able to play our game regardless of the opponent, is going to be really important. So, we'll have kind of, once we play Southern, that whole week to like evaluate what have we done, where are we, and starting to like really have an identity, which is what you're trying to find.
Coach, in terms of that, when you have freshmen and young players last year who maybe think they have a role, then get forced into more of a role, adjust to that role, and might now have to switch back to less of a role, how through that roller coaster do you get them to adjust to all that?
Yeah, I think, when we're talking about freshmen, obviously, we're talking about Bella and Bugs, and I don't know that Bugs' role has changed that much, to be honest with you. I think she's going to have a bigger role. I think this summer she's become more confident. She understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, and is better at doing it. Enough to name her a captain as a sophomore on a team full of veterans, and so super proud of her progress. I think she has a chance to keep building on what she did last year. I think Bella's making the adjustment, from playing in the post to playing on the perimeter. I think she had a really good offseason, a good summer. I think she also is getting a lot better on the defensive side of the ball, and I think she's someone that, as she develops in this role, can be really, really special because of her ability to shoot it and then maybe post up smaller matchups. I mean, she was defending a lot of 5s last year. And so, I think it's a challenge to defend on the perimeter. She's doing a good job with that. But I think it's about, does she embrace the challenge of playing more on the perimeter, being a little bit more of a ball handler, being able to post up mismatches. She's a physical kid, but learning to use her body to score around the rim takes time. You can kind of get away with anything in high school a lot of times if you're someone over 6 foot tall. But struggled at times last year when we would post feed her at putting the ball directly in the hands of her defender. So, just getting her to understand angles and use her body. But I think she can be that inside-outside player that can really grow this year and grow alongside Asia kind of in a similar role. So, I think they're both going to be uber important to our success. But I think Bella's role has changed probably a little more than Bugs.
You talk about the depth. You got a lot of players who can score, and Yaya was talking earlier about kind of finding her role. What are some keys you found to, like, when you've got a lot of players who could score on any given night, just building that culture where it is unselfish and figuring out how to work into that?
The best thing you can do is not throw it to the team that doesn't have the same colored jersey on as you. I think that's been our biggest challenge is taking care of the ball, like wanting to be too aggressive, wanting to make big believer coming off. We've got the Ranger jersey on over here. It's so funny because so few players these days, like student athletes, have played multiple sports. So you say this, and then you have to ask the question if they actually understand what you're saying. The concept of hitting singles, like every play doesn't have to be a home run. I thought even when, watching Trae Young be a young rookie in the league, and only playing 1 year in college, like I felt like his first year he wanted to make either the shot or the lob pass or the pinpoint pass, and he's an unbelievable passer, but there's times that you need the hockey assist, and you almost wish that we could stat that in basketball, because making the right play to get you to the 2-on-1, making the right play to have the angle to the post feed is really, really important. So that's the biggest part with getting them to understand that the ball will come back to them, and I think that's this subconscious fear that they don't even know. Like, I really don't believe they think that way. I just think that's probably there a little bit without them understanding that the ball will come back to you. And the more the ball moves, that the better they're all going to get, because they're going to get the ball in more advantageous positions to be good at what they do. Yaya's really good on the second side of the floor. When she tries to do too much too early, a turnover is likely to happen. When she waits for action to come back to her, there's no one better at downhill, getting to the rim, finishing, three-point play, that type of thing. So, kind of trusting the process and trusting her teammates that the ball will come back to her, is going to be really important for this team. But, it won't matter if we throw it away before we have a chance to move it to one side, two sides, or three sides of the floor. So that's, you ask, like, what do I not want to do? For all I know, they'll play 2-3 zone, but I'd like to complete passes will be the biggest key for us.
Coach, in terms of this team that has a bunch of parts that some of them kind of know each other and some of them don't, how have y'all gelled to this point, and how much is game action just the only way to really gel in that kind of condition?
It is. I think we've done everything we can possibly do, from Marine training to foreign trips to core values and doing, on the court, off the court games. I think it comes down to the team buying into what it takes to win, and it's really easy to say all the time that these guys came to Baylor to win and to win championships. But they're all individuals, and they all want to have individual success as well. And so understanding that at the end of the day, if the team on the front of their jersey is successful, it'll mean a whole lot more to what happens on the back of your jersey. Like, there's not a lot of All-Americans on bad teams, and so, when you're successful as a team, usually good things happen individually as well. MVPs tend to be off winning teams. All conference players tend to be on winning teams. Those are the teams that get multiple players on those squads. And so really understanding that, it may not be my day to day, but if I do the little things, if I screen, if I defend, if I rebound, it might be my day the next game, but if we win, that's the most important thing. And I think that's what they're going to have to figure out, and I think they want to. I just think that it takes getting in games and getting in those actions and having adversity in games and missing shots and still wanting to defend. It takes making shots and, your teammates wanting to give the ball to the hot player. And, in the scrimmage when we were doing zone segments, I mean, Danae hit 4 threes in a row. And so now her teammates are looking for her, almost to the point where they were passing up better shots to get her the ball. So we have to understand the fine line, but that I appreciated. You got someone making shots, like you should find them, and feed, as they say in football, feed the beast, and so you have to have that mentality, especially when you have players like Asia, when you have players like Yaya, that I think can get on runs. When you have Sarah Andrews, like they can get on their own individual runs. And as long as they're making good basketball plays, you kind of ride those runs.
Coach, in terms of just returning players that you have, we've kind of touched on, a lot of the ones that saw the court last year, but with Dre, the perspective that she gained from not being able to play last year, and she's finally able to, finally able to have her here in Waco. How excited are you just to get her back, and how excited are you, just to see the growth that she was able to have last year?
Yeah, I think I still think Dre's shaking the rust off a little bit, and she dealt with some physical issues a couple of months ago that kind of broke up that advancement. But I do think she's a player who really gives us a mismatch depending on how you look at it. I mean, she can be a small 5, but a bigger 4. She can definitely play the 4 and is comfortable at the 4, but when you put her at the 5, she's really smart on angles and dictating from behind the defense. She can stretch you to 3. She can drive by bigs. She's got a lot of Caitlin had to defend 5s all last year, and when you're smart and you understand angles and you use your base well, you can defend people 3 and 4 inches taller than you well. There's certain things you can and can't do. But so I think she has the ability to do both. And I think that lineup is really dangerous when all of a sudden we have 5 people who can shoot the 3, 5 people who can attack you. But then I also think, she wants to play a little bit more on the perimeter at times, which the reality is players sometimes don't understand the value of being in a position with an advantage, you know, and when you play the 5 and you're playing against a bigger, slower player, it gives you that opportunity to shoot the 3 and to drive by people. Like, you know, then when you play someone smaller, you know, we're going to put you on the low block. So, you know, so often it's about, I want to showcase all my perimeter skills. Well, when do you get to do that the best? When you have an advantage, skill-wise and speed-wise. And so really getting them to buy into, like, the different ways that we can play and how we can take advantage of that.
Sarah said one of her goals is to stay healthy. I don't know if you can approach it like this, but do you limit her minutes or what? You know,
She is on a minutes limitation. Yeah, she's on a minutes limitation. So, you know, that isn't dictated by me. Hopefully we can get her to the point where her body says she doesn't need a minutes restriction. Her fitness level, her, you know, her kind of return to play protocol, because certainly she's probably the most valuable player, you know, in our locker room in terms of the experience that she brings, the understanding of who I am, why I do, what I like to do. She's the most capable of running the team without me running the team for them, which, you know, honestly, when Jada runs the point, you know, I'm probably going to be the point guard, you know, and that's natural in coaching. Like sometimes you have to limit like what somebody does from that position and the decisions that they make. And it's about, you know, giving her the best chance to be successful. Like, you know, I trust Sarah to call her own game in stretches. You know, I'm still going to call it on a dead ball. I'm going to still see things that she doesn't see. But I think Jade is still trying to figure out, what am I doing, you know, and why am I doing it? And it's that fine line of taking away her aggressiveness and the things that she does well because she's overthinking, you know, and that's a natural transition, but it's one that I don't want it to take away from what she does well, having her think too much. And so her packages are going to be much more limited in terms of what we're doing when she's running the team. And I think we can still be ultra successful. It's just going to take her time to understand how's the defense guarding me, like what are good options here. So, you know, we typically give our point guards going into a game, hey, if I don't call anything, here are 4 really good sets that we have. Here are our secondary actions that are good against this opponent, and here's why. You know, we want to get their 5 in ball screens, so here's the way we can get their 5s in ball screens. And so, you know, just kind of we've just got to teach her to, you know, kind of understand, like, middle ball screen actions are really good against this opponent. Don't get yourself pinned in on the sideline. You know, like, if you don't have a good matchup, like, let's get into loop action and get the ball in the middle of the floor to our 2 guards that can attack, you know. So just kind of helping her not overthink when she plays and just be able to be kind of the gnat on defense and kind of the aggressive mid-range pull-up jump shooter that she's really, really good in those spaces. You're welcome.